Top of the morning, y'all. It is pouring raining outside right now. It's kind of what we call a gully washer down here in South. If you ever heard that word, it's a gully washer today. And Ranger was mad that I didn't take him outside and let him be in the video. But since he got caught humping February 4th in my video, around about the 3-minute 50 mark, yeah, Mama's made him apologize on Instagram with a little sign around his neck. Y'all might want to check that out. And so we're just going to ground his little butt until he stops feeling frisky and embarrassing us. I want to bring this to you today because it's crazy. There's a 22-year-old kid. I say kid because I'm 42, right? But he's 22 and his name is Luke Ferreter. Democrats are after this kid hard. I mean, hateful even. He recently signed on with Doge. This kid is a literal savant. This kid is a literal genius. The way he got recognized is he was able to decode a 2,000-year-old scroll using a system of AI that he invented himself that nobody else could invent to intelligibly understand this dadgum scroll, right? And he just figures it out. He's a student at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Who knew we still had geniuses in-house? It's nice to go American sometimes, ain't it? Y'all remember something. We don't vote just every 2 to 4 years. We vote with our wallet every single day. And if you want to talk about who is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, it's PATRIOT Mobile. When we switch to them, we're literally voting with our wallets, y'all. And there's great service guaranteed because they operate on all 3 major networks. I'm not giving my money anymore to people that hate us. So I really hope this hits hard for somebody who is signed up still with a huge liberal carrier. PatriotMobile.com/buddy. I will put the link below. This video is going to make you proud to be an American. Luke Ferreter, 22 years old, and I want you to look at just a piece of what he's doing.
So I've always been interested in history. Growing up, I learned Latin. I was never that good at it, but I was always kind of into that sort of stuff, read a lot about the Roman Empire and things. And one day I was just listening to a podcast back in March. It was with Nat Friedman. He just kind of got on the podcast, explained like there are these burnt up scrolls that were buried in the Pompeii eruption. No one knows how to read them. But some professors have created CT scans of these scrolls, and they uploaded the data on the internet as a competition to see who could find writing inside of these scrolls. And when I heard that, I was just immediately like, oh my goodness, this is such a cool project. I have to work on this. I just went home from work that day at the end of the day, and I've been working on it evenings and weekends ever since. At the start of the challenge, we had not been able to find any writing at all within these scrolls. There are hundreds of these scrolls that are from the mansion. We've scanned a couple of them, and no one had been able to find any writing in them using these methods. Late one Saturday night, I was sitting at a party at a friend's house in Omaha, and I get a text from another person on the challenge team, and he says, hey, I've just uploaded this new kind of piece of the scroll, you should take a look at it. I remotely accessed my computer, I type into it like, please run the algorithm on this new piece of scroll, and then I just kind of started. I pull out my phone again, just nonchalantly, like, hey, I wonder how that went. And there are 3 Greek letters on the screen, letters I'd never seen before. It was really cool because it's like, oh my goodness, like we actually detected new writing in the scrolls using AI. That was the moment I realized like this is actually going to work. Like we're probably going to read the scrolls. Now we're reading entire paragraphs from the scrolls, and hopefully we'll be able to read the entire book and read the hundreds of other books that were buried in this condition as well. As a college student, it's definitely been overwhelming in the best way possible, but it's been really cool to get to kind of, talk about my findings and, share what I want to do in the future with so many people. So it's been overwhelming in the best possible way.
First thing I think is obvious is if you're getting up there in your older years and you've been saying to your husband or wife, I don't know about this next generation. I don't know if there's any hope at all. This, my friends, is it. It shows me that God ain't done pouring out his brilliance on the last generation. But let's think about something here. This last administration that we just had the past 4 years of absolute hell, Luke Ferreter would have never seen the light of day because of the DEI policies that were in place. Isn't that just incredible? Now we have a kid who is actually hired for actual brilliance instead of, just filling a quota. Imagine that. See, what the left has forgotten or maybe just never even learned to begin with is a lot of our founding fathers were in their 20s when they got started. Do y'all know in 1776, James Monroe was just 18 years old? James Madison was 25 years old, and 2 of the youngest signers of the Declaration of Independence were just 26. Their names were Thomas Lynch Jr. and Edward Rutledge. Because here's the thing about incredibly young geniuses. They haven't had time to be compromised and corrupted yet. How many people in the government go in there bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, okay, as we say down here in the South, and excited to actually make a difference only to have their soul sucked out of them by, all the congressmen that are already there and their staffs, because they've been there so many years that they're just jaded and they're crooked and they're into all kinds of other stuff. Don't even get me started on term limits. But being young and genius and passionate is still legal the last time I checked in America. The left can scream all they want about Doge and the stuff getting exposed. It's gonna be absolutely wild. But this kid, y'all need to remember, is not running the government. He's just a kid who's running a new process. And he's got to create this process to fix all the stupidity and the red tape this country's created. And the coolest thing watching this kid is there's no arrogance or ego going on at all. If you really look at this kid, there's no arrogance. I can't find it anywhere. How many politicians can we actually say that for? Not a whole lot, not really. This kid has literally deciphered a 2,000-year-old burned up scroll using AI, and feminists are still screaming about toxic masculinity while they're hitting the vape pen watching The View. The bottom line is, when you go to hire people, you want to hire people smarter than you. My dad always told me, he goes, son, I want you to marry a girl that's smarter than you, son, which I did. And now that I think about it, I don't know if that was actually just wise instruction or he was telling me that I wasn't that bright. Either way, it's sound wisdom and I'll get over it. But every single day, more and more and more is going to be uncovered thanks to this young man, thanks to geniuses like Luke. And I just picture the bad guy on Scooby-Doo who just got exposed yelling at the top of his lungs, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.